Keblai Pibaro nagadon Bosco Media Network ngiwan ra shipi ki KHUBOR NIAM gejala jong katayo balai jong banai Jylliew arajar arpusan. Kimat bakong san ha kani katayo kilong libat kerku u Archbishop Victor ya ke seminary jong ke Society of Catholic Apostolate Palatines. Keblai kitbok kipat diungit parish unsning ya u brodar san kupar. Lependrung dukhat bertemai hagaseng hikna duan ha umsning parish. Bat hadu art pendai ngut yo dikon ka Orient Theological College Malah. Bat mintain pa syuki kubor bakampinya. Most Reverend Archbishop Victor Lingdo Didi jong ke jalan yang ba Shillong ulapli bat kerku ke seminary jong ke Society of Catholic Apostolate Palatines ha ka khatan riu terik Jylliew arjar arpusan kabadon ha ka shnong umran nyang bernai Riboy district. Ha kini kesngi ladon lang Most Reverend John Mulachira Archbishop jong ke Goti harengkat u Reverend Padar Joy Palachuvatil Provincial jong ke Palatines Father Matthew Thonikal ubalongru rector jong ni ke seminary ha ka jingsen ran lang kiwe ki Padar ki Sistar ki Longkemi ki Longkpa bat ki pat riunget jong ke umsning parish. Hadin kamas bakut bat ke jingker ku ye kini ke seminary lapen kop buramru ye ki nong syakot ngobha bakentup yu Archbishop Victor Lingdo u Archbishop Mulachira bat yu MLA jong ke umsning constituency bat ye kiwe ki riu paukmat kathan. Da ka jing sngo benot bat kenja kublai sngo ngu kipat riunget Catholic umsning parish ya u brodar san kupar khong remai ubalatrei bat no senyang hakani ke parish la shisnem tam menta. Kini ke jinglet no jong ubradar san kupar kalong ban beteng ye ke jing puli theology sya ke jela Chhattisgarh. Keman shipin ken mau ubradar san kupar khong remai uladon hakani ke umsning parish la shisnem tam. Hakini ke por baudan ha umsning parish ulayo ke jing it ni kipat ba bat ni kena duan da ke jing tre shitom ke jing riu blai jong u ulalong shisha ubrodar balai kinuk sa babha hakani ke parish ha ka khat san tarik u Jylliew ha ka por arbaje janmit kipat riu nget ke umsning parish kila ai kublai sngongu na ke benta ki kam babha jong ni ubrodar. Kisamla shinrang bat kenthei kila pelong da ke program bekerpang da ki jingruai ki jingshat bat ki kentin kublai sngongu. Kila kitbok kitwyang yu ha ki kam ki jam bat ha ki jingpuli ban pentebet bat ngam Jylliew ha ka jing start play.
Jylliew. Te nakaliang junga ngai thu bahai ke yeng kesem jung berkana do bai dang rit kawai kalong bangi dai perlok sahabat ke yeng kesem jungi namar de nalai rel ngai shwa benuan sane da kadai ka Christmas ngab lai be shisnong jungki dengan lai Christmas kila buk namata ke Paskha dengan la shbun ong ba nganom lai ma kila buk dengan lai Paskha kila buk namata ke Christmas te berdaru ngai jing penskam manga kupor ben rit mo te I kwa jing I de ba kit balang bah po kesnong lai reng ba hakani ka kini kupor ngskwa bani tu I na ka benta ka wei ka balang sinong I kwa jing berdar pensna ko I yeng bani mo te ong kom don su berdar sene rai kupor bekarku te ka hab lek banga ban kerku rai nomor bai berdar don sene ta hang ni po Paris suk bah badon ni berdar nda ngalek sono ru ngasu entras pe berdar ong pe berdar wan ki padar pe muhi pe berdar wan ki sister pe muhi pe berdar wan ki wan mano kajing suk dengan hadu kata-kata ba ngalek kat sabalai klam jing kuslai klam wari pe berdar pe lo di jing jing dia jong ka Paris barokat te Tibet bahai ke jing jing dia te hakane kasngi na kalian kum ka Paris ki ai ke jing sngongo mo berdar na ka benta baro ki kam ki ba phila trei baro si snam ila trei hanong mensong te hanong mensong ro ban la don senero kata ka kam hanong mensong gidang khot manu banai hadu bangala ong itu padar pasang tu dan ai tang ba kide ban yeng kalau ki jong ki jat kuno ina ai manu banai berdar ban situ no teng la khot dang step la khot janmet tong bishop lo kha sangi bai don kasab ko phong tangan ai ki tang bam dai ban ti pen gi dai ban yeng la ki jong ki jat te menta te kala bai te brodar jing shai de ban dai la shai tang ba kadon na tu jing ker khu jong ka palotain tingi lai bo I sa yeng la sisngi in yo suti tang sitayo adien katapat in yo suti tang tamle la yo sngi right yo suti tang sitayo hadin katapat kin saleh station kin saleh station po Bilaspur sa Chhattisgarh kata gadai kecaka hakaba I don ka jing pule tang sepang kumno ban sepang jing duai pi kom duai ko pher kalong kum sistem retreat in Norway ma kalong kum sistem retreat nang hadin katu pan le sakmat berawan lombok udon ulau pas lawan beratebor mensong nga kitor gi lawan mensong snam te berat paru salai serta te gasnong Bilaspur gasnong Dekhar tingin sayor ketua experience nomor kita bapak Banarasi
Haka khatsan terik Jylliew Reverend Padar Pius Shadap Parish Priest ko Umsning Parish haka letniam bekerpang haka por mas bekhoj ula penrung dukhat bathamai haka sengi kena duan altar boys ki bayarap bat senran haki jing letniam bapher ki kemi ki kpa bat ki rang ba balang ki la senran ya lagi khun haka ni ke jing letniam basyongkun Arngut ki brodar wan lambok hujan bat san kupar khong remai kila 3 minot ban hikai bat penjanai yakini ki kena duan ki belariam de ki jan ki bala penpho bahabriu yaki hagani kesngi hagasning ke kraw uso blai Pius Shadap haka pormas ula penken mau ya ke jing koridor jong ki jingirap jong ki kena duan ha ki jingle niam bat ha ka kenya ka kriam ya ka mas pakon Kajing don ki kena duan ha senda jong so blai ha kajing le niam ka penjan shu ya ki pai ba sha kajing it blai Usamla Johnson Jana president but usamla penskem lang so po secretary kaseng ki kena duan ki lepen pau ya kajing kemen ka bakra ha ka sin ka beningkong ban sakhi ya kani ka program ka basyongkun bat syong blai hadu kata ka kong Veronica Karkrang Kawai na kilong kami kabajulum julang ya ki kena bat pensluri ki bandrung ha kaseng ki kena senran duan nadu ki por ba menchwa uba James Bond jana bat ba Niki Kharthang mau kilapen pau ke jing kemen lung mensim ha gani kesengi ban yo I ke jing hok ban jing lui ha kedor kedar jong kini ki khot bathamai ki baker saudong ya keduan hadu bandar duai ki jing le niam ki kena duan kilapen pau ke jing sngongo ya ublei ya ki kimi ki kpa ya ki lingdo ya ki brodar bat ya ki nongelam kabalang ki balayelam bat betin lenti ya ki hasenda ki dinjat jong Jisu Kris hakani kesengi
Tam na sakriwan ini agak kesengi House Lab Adhajar Sa, Prayer Way Paris to America, St. James North. Kali kapan bahaya kan warga, ibaratnya orang tua, ibarat air play. Kalau air play itu om. Father, I used to be in the altar boys. Tapi apa thinking kan, yang sisi nasi. Hey, ada yang kemudian yang terus lagi kerabat dan di Sudan itu terus berbarengan. Ada yang seperti altar boys. Hampir seperti lalu kata kita berkembang. Kalau kini clear, itu lagi bahaya. Lagi sekarang itu adalah dia orang lagi big officer. Lagi sekarang itu adalah dia kita altar boys. I used to be altar boys. Kadang sebelum kecil, super dog kita kecil bangun begini, pendok nasi ribuan. But if you don't play football tournament itu ke Amerika football yang mana nasi ribuan sudah untuk sudah mana pun menyatakan kerja Paris ini berarti Paris dengan sudah dekat. Dengan ketentuan masuk ke harga kesimpulannya ini cuma important untuk nasi ribuan. Mereka ini diberi bisnis serong. Dan itu lebih bagi dia nasi ribuan. Berkata sisa tentang lakukan kemudian dan pada antara nasi ribuan. Jadi mana ini belum ada semula kepada nasi ribuan itu dipilih lebih. Dan kadang-kadang nasi ribuan ada sendiri. Kemudian dilanjut sahabat mencipta suka, kemudian kata nak suka Kristus itu. Siapa saya nak ini nak diawat, syawal semata. Kita berdoa kita ada jenglong nasi ribuan. Kita ada jenglong lain. Mau baru nasi ribuan, baik nasi ribuan, mana sih lagi kita ni? Baru ini congregation di dalam yang mana dipelajari. Kalau ada kata tu sudah masuk ke dalam berkat hari ini jangan lupa. Nanti asal terus saya terima sekolah dekat bahasa. Dengan apa ada berapa nak terima. Dekadon sisa kita kamu sih apa? Terkait dua terkait. Boleh kita kena kita boleh kita seterima kita dari sini.
Kalong kesngi sa akin mau bekerpang ya ki arp kendai ngut kirang samla ke jela bat gari bamin khat nyau terik Jylliew arjar apusan kilayo ya ke jingpen kentang dikon ha Orients Theological College Maulai de Bishop Joachim Walder Bishop Sindrop jong ka Aizol Diocese ha ke jing senran lang upadar rector kate ke Shlem jing puli upadar Chinlian Khub Stanislaus ki provincial bat ki rector jong ki ying puli jong ki seng beper ki padar bat ki brodar puli jong kate ke Shlem puli theology jong ka Jalan Nyamba Shillong. Lasdangi kate ke jing le niam da ke jing pediang sngoba na upadar rector jong kate ke Jaka puli upadar Chin Lian Khub Stanislaus. Hadin gani Bishop Joachim Ulasdang ya kemas penkentang dikon. Hagas neng ke krau Bishop Joachim ulapen pau ya ke jing kemen bat jing sngongu ke bakrau na ke benta ke jing IT jung gidikon da ke ba itu ya ke jing teli hapdeng ki diocesan bat ki reuniam ki be trelang na ke benta ukris. Bishop upen ken mau ya ke dikon ya ke jing kular bakhot jung ke jing kongu bat ke jing soti da ke ba pen pau ya kini kum ki jing kit Henry kum ki jing ai ki ba pen la lut ki ba pen la ek jing syakri ke ba kham Jylliew ya ke balang kentang ya wai Bishop upen kut da ke jing khot sya ke jing long khot ke badang yai betek ke jing ke bala pen scam ha ukres kan yalam sya ke jing suk ke bane junom ulaong endala dep ke sning ke krau ke ritile niam pen kentang dikon kebut ha ke ba kite ki arp kendai ngut ki samla enda kila pendap ya ke jing puli theology jongki kila wan syakmat jong bishop pan smai pan ko ngo soti bat duk da ke bekerpat ru ya ke jing saat kiriu khot hadin kini bishop uker khu ye iwe pe iwe da ke babo ikakti halor jongki Ndaladap ka jingdway penkentang, kita ki arp kendai ngut ki dikon, ki leyo ban pong ya ke sopti dikon, bat ki pedang ya ke kitab jong ke gospel na bishop uba penkentang ya ki. Enda keriti penkentang dikon kalakut, kalau don ke jing beteng ya ke jing penmenta ya ke Eucharist bakut, ha ke ba bishop Joachim Walder, ulalong unong penmenta ya ke kenya ke kriam. Lapen kut ia kata ke Jylliew niam penkentang dikon daga ketin sngongo na uway na dikon patamay.
For the mission I am going to entrust to you. And this shows that every one of us is unworthy in ourselves. But then God is calling us with all our limitations, and God is filling us with His Spirit and with the courage to work for Him and for the church and the people who will be entrusted to your care. Coming to today's second reading from St. Paul's letter to the Romans, we have St. Paul pleading to the people to give themselves as a holy and living sacrifice, pleasing to God. Do not be conformed to the world, but rather be transformed through the renewal of your mind. Yes, dear brothers, it is a call to you and call to all of us to live a life holy, pleasing to God, and not to be conformed to the standard of the world, but to be transformed. When we look at the world today, it attracts so many people to itself, to the pleasures, to the comforts in different ways. But then God is calling you and calling us to be transformed. And being transformed, you will be or we will be experience the joy and peace in our lives which nothing or nobody in the world can give. And this is my experience in dealing with the people who will go after the worldly pleasures, comforts, and finally lost in themselves. But then people who make decisions, turn to God, live a life full of peace and happiness in spite of the limitations, struggles they undergo. In the gospel passage, we have the invitation of Jesus to remain in His love. Yes, we are going to be the deacons and we are going to be priests later on, priests of Jesus, not priests by ourselves. No, ourselves, we are nothing, but with Jesus who is calling us, who is filling us with His grace, with His Spirit, we become somebody. So let us try to live in Him. In the same gospel passage, gospel, chapter 15, verse 7, we have Jesus telling His disciples, you cannot bear fruit or your prayers cannot be effective unless you live in me or unless you keep my commandments. So it is a clear call and reminder to us to be effective in our ministry. We need Jesus who is calling us and who is calling us to be His priest. So, as we have this ordination, let us keep in mind what Jesus is making us today. Let us be grateful to Him as we realize our vocation is His gift to us primarily, His gift to the church, and His gift to your family members. So, when God is giving you this gift, we are called to live out this gift with great humility, with great gratitude to God, because He makes us as He made prophet Isaiah, to be worthy, to be powerful, to be successful when we live in Him. As you make today the promises of obedience and celibacy, remember Jesus Himself. Jesus came to this world, Son of God, so powerful, leaving the glory and might of the heavens, but He humbled Himself and carried out the will of God in spite of His pain and struggle. Remember the prayer of Jesus at the Garden of Gethsemane, whereby He foresaw all the sufferings that would come on Him and pleaded His Father to take away the chalice. Yet He prayed this way, "It is not my will, but your will be done." Yes, in the life of a priest, in the life of a religious, obedience is part of it. Don't consider it is external, it is part of it, and today you make this promise before all of us, and you make this promise in the presence of God. There are times we may not agree, difference of opinion are part of our lives, but at the end, our surrender, our obedience is what matters most. The second promise you will be making, the vow of celibacy. Do not consider it as a burden, rather consider it as a gift for exercising our priesthood and serving the church with greater freedom and greater commitment. It is not that married life is bad, it is not the families are bad, but then we give preference to Jesus, the church, and His people in a more committed way. So Jesus becomes our primary source of happiness, fulfillment. We are not denying or punishing ourselves, rather we are liberating ourselves to serve Jesus, His church, His kingdom with greater commitment. Yes, to live out this life as a deacon, later on priest, anchor yourself in Jesus. Without Him, we will not achieve much. So, a life of prayer is very important for us to grow in our relationship with Jesus. Second, a life of humility, because our vocation as deacons now and later on as priests is the gift of God to us. There is nothing to boast. If at all we have to boast, we have to be grateful to Jesus for calling us to be His priests or religious, as deacons now and later on as priests. Live a life of kindness and generosity. With humility, let these be our attitudes, let these be our values, to be kind to others, to be generous to others. Have complete trust in Jesus. That is what going to help us in times of difficulties, because when we trust in Him, as we have in the divine mercy, when we trust in Jesus, Jesus becomes our source of strength. My request to you, start your day with prayer. Let your day be filled and guided by the power of God. Live your day well, realizing you are always in the presence of God. Whatever you do, you may do in the closed room, you may do anything in the open, but there is God watching over you. So remember that you are always in the presence of God. Finally, end the day with a short self-examination how the day went on. So that as human beings, when we go wrong, we can correct there and then because we can grow in our life of holiness. Remember, life of holiness never completes. Rather, it has started and it will grow. It will grow in our lives, and living a holy life will be our joy.
Kumshibenta ban rakhi usnem Jubilee arajar arpusan kasengrang ba pending umyong sub-district St. Thomas Parish Mairang kalapelong ya kelumpung ya thir ya tai halor kishipau hukum ha kakatsan tarik Jylliew arajar arpusan ha St. Thomas High Secondary School podium ha kabalangut kiling dok soble kilasyong ha karensan ya tai leni ke panel discussion kita kilong Reverend Padar Venki Friday Kars Imyong, Reverend Padar Henry Manar, but Reverend Padar Devasya. Lasdangi kini kesengi da kemas pakut ha kabau Reverend Padar Henry Manar ulalong unong lam kemat ikariti le niam jong ke Eucharist pakut ha kabau la kren ngau tanat bah halor kesengi kraw jong ke Trinity pakut. Ula banjur bagi pat riunget kidon kam ban ya kejing maya jong ke Trinity pakut kam tam ban ya bat ya teli. KHUBOR no asngi kipai riunget jong ke sub-district pendeng umyong kilawan bani shimenta shidram ha ke lumpung yethir halor kishpau hukum. Baro laingut kiling do kilas dang de kintin lamprang kebasan minit bat hadin kata kipai riunget kinoi shimenta kilami syakmat ha keban yethir lingba kijing ajing mud bat kijing keli ya kipanelis. Kalalong shisha kijing yethir kabalatay ya kibalawan bani shimenta. Kalalong ru ke program ke ba compare hapo ke parish. Kala kersiu thia ya kibabon ban tip bat ngau thu shai ya kishipau hukum. Nakadaw jong ke jinglingkot jong ke por shim lala ban pendep ban ya theriatai ya barok kishipau hukum. Kumta ke sengrang ba kadang terang ban pendep se kisanteli kibamshim lala ban pendep ha kete kesngi. Kapenwai no ya kini ke program da ke jingduai bat ke jingkerku. Bat da kini ke KHUBOR ngila poi syek bakut jeng kini ke THUP KHUBOR. Ngi ai ke jingkit bok kit ruang pi baro bat ba pindon ha ke jingkot jingkia pin syat pin klan. Ngi kerpat pi bala dadon ke KHUBOR baja ha ki parish ni ki shnong jong pi ba pin part ne pentip shangi how teu number badona ke screen jong pi kenang bengindang la ban penmi man katayo wi ki KHUBOR niam ke Jylliew. Kublai shibon ublai unkerku yipi.